Alright. Let's roll.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us start episode number 85 of Beyond the Rift with the one and only host with the most, the newly climbing up the ladder. I just want to say I'm ranked third. I think I'm ranked actually like 25 now, soon to be ranked 1. You're looking at the soon to be ranked 1 player in League of Legends. I'm a cutie pie, your host. Scar, who are you? And what is your rank?
Okay, well, depending on what account you look at, I'm either plat or diamond. So I like to say I'm approaching probably the opposite spectrum of the rank as you. But hello, guys. I'm the other co-host of the show, and welcome to the show.
And joining us today, our lovely guest, the Rioters. Rioters, introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Andre Van Rune. I go by Meddler on the lead gameplay designer.
I'm Stash. I go by RiotStashu. I'm a game designer as well. I did some work on runes, and now I'm doing some live gameplay stuff, balance changes.
All right. As you can guess, we're going to be talking about some of the balance stuff on today's Beyond the Rift. But before we get into it, quick little Discord announcement.
Bit of an earthquake, sorry.
Discord Q&A. If you guys love asking questions, which I know you guys do, and you always have fantastic questions, feel free to drop by, ask some question at the end of the show. We'll read almost every one of them, and we're gonna make some magic happen. But let's get into the topics here. So we're gonna go right into topic number 1. The initial rune rework had poke runes be too strong, which then shifted into sustain runes being too powerful. What's the current state of runes right now? So I guess we can start off from our experiences of what it is, Scara. So
yeah,
I mean, for me, I guess the current state of runes right now, I'd say it's definitely a lot healthier than what it used to be. I used to runes before. I didn't feel like there was very many choices. It's just I just go the same shit every game. Now it's like, well, I mean, if I play Draven, I can go Airy. If I play Tristan, I can go Fleet Footwork. If I play Twitch, I can go press the attack. I feel like there's some variety. I don't know if runes are meant to be if I play Draven, maybe I want to switch it up, and instead of Airy, I'm feeling like a DPS type of thing. If that's the case, maybe I don't like the state of the runes, but I'm pretty happy with where they are right now. What about you, Scar?
I guess I'm pretty happy. Usually I get a large, for instance, if I'm playing Swain, I get to choose between a large variety of runes like Electrocute, Aftershock, Spellbook. I lose regardless which choice I make, but at least there's an illusion of choice. But I think that the only thing I'm a little bit worried about is I remember the game length, early in the season, super short, right? We're talking people are slamming each other with 4 poke champions a game, 10 comets a game. Rek'Sai's with Comet were coming out. And now I think all the power shifted toward Aftershock. And so I'm a little bit scared that Aftershock is maybe too powerful at the moment.
Okay. I mean, what do the Rioters think about that?
Yeah, I mean, a few thoughts. I think we have had some sort of sustain and survivability being too high through runes, and we've got some of that under control, but I actually think we probably need to go a little bit further. In particular, make it a bit easier to be aggressive, to get damage to stick onto your opponents in lane. In terms of total amount of choice in the rune system, we would like it so you have more than just sort of one really good choice per champion, obviously. And we've been focused pretty heavily on getting the outliers, Klepto when it was really overtuned initially, back into a good state. And I think once we've done a little bit more of that, probably Unsealed Spellbook being one of the next targets, we'll be in a much better state to get a bit of that choice going as well.
Well,
yeah, so you talked about Draven being able to only pick Airy, and that might be true right now, and to me that is a problem. Ideally, one day we have it such that if you're looking for a little bit of utility, you could look towards Glacial Augment, or if you're looking for the greedy build, you can go Klepto, or if you're looking for more DPS, you do go press the attack or something like that. But yeah, we'll be working on sort of massaging things until we get closer to that state. We definitely don't want there to be clear dominant winners. And on the sustain note, ideally there's a few different viable strategies. So if sustain is powerful and people aren't picking other things, that's a signal to us to go look into Is it just that sustain is too strong, or are the damage runes not pulling enough of their weight? Should we be looking into press the attack? Is that the answer to a sustain heavy lane, or those sorts of things?
Yeah, one other thing there, there'll also be cases where the runes might be doing the right things and the rest of the game is out of line. If we've got too much sustain coming from Targons, for example, or if tank supports are just too strong, that's going to warp things whether or not the pre-game is in the right state.
Do you feel like there'd ever be a point, like, me and Sky talked about this last Beyond the Rift, I think it's Shinshin, where, I don't know how, like, your guys' vision of runes is, but I can't imagine, at least for ADC, I feel like you basically only ever go the most optimal thing. Like, I might like, I've tried Jinx with Glacial Augment, and I was like, man, I really like Glacial Augment on Jinx. But then it's like, I should just always go Fleet Footwork on her, no matter, like, she's just a late game carry. I just need to get to late game. I should just go Fleet Footwork. Do you feel like there could be a point where those kinds of options are viable, or is that something that's really difficult to nail?
I think
before you answer real quick,
sure.
Kitty, can you turn up the riders on Discord
Okay.
audio-wise? And then, I don't want to have reduced audio. I got you guys.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, we good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, I think ADCs are going to be one of the harder ones to get really good. They're so focused.
Meddler, you're cutting off a little bit. I think the voice threshold for you is set a little bit high. Can you just like make sure to talk more in the mic and like speak up? Sorry, I didn't.
I can certainly try.
Okay.
Check with. Okay. How's this coming through at the moment?
You're sounding good.
Okay, yeah, great.
Oh, well, thank you.
We just don't want you to cut off because you cut off like 3 times during that statement. So.
Okay, I'll try that again.
Okay.
I think getting rune choice onto ADCs is going to be for a lot of champions because a lot of the time they're just so focused on thing, putting out a bunch of ranged auto attack damage. But I do believe even there we'll be able to get some good choice. I think Fleet Footwork as the survivability / mobility option versus some form of sustained damage, say press the attack or potentially a different precision keystone versus say some more ability-based stuff and sorcery. Some of the Klepto stuff, inspiration stuff, should be able to work pretty well. Tuning's not there yet, but...
I guess this is coming from an ADC. Do you have a problem with Fleet Footwork? Because for me personally, I guess I don't hate Fleet Footwork. I'm pretty indifferent to it, honestly, but I feel like I don't like playing against sustain. I don't like someone just being able to just wait out Fleet Footwork procs and just try to heal up like what I'm doing. And I don't know how you guys feel about it. If you feel like maybe that's a problem or something, like what's your take on that?
I think Fleet Footwork, if it's giving sustain later in the its power in lane probably needs to skew more towards mobility and a bit of safety, not heavy. I also think the game ends up being being much poorer when it's Fleet Footwork all the time on both sides. If you've got one person trying to be aggressive, one trying to survive through it, I think that's a much more interesting lane than 2 people just rocking their heels and trying to CS.
Okay, you're still cutting off, Meddler, real quick.
Okay.
Secondly, I'm just curious what you guys think. Like, what's an acceptable level of trading? Like, let's say you're playing like 2 Doran's ring mid laners, neither have sustained mid lane. Usually, I think of it as like, okay, I go through 2 pots, so I could take 3 bad trades, pretty much 3 bad trades, and then if I take a 4th bad trade, I'm out of lane. Bot lane sometimes feels like you can take like 6 minor bad trades and 1 mega bad trade, but like. Even then, like, I don't know if it feels like the sustain is slightly too high or whatever, but like, is it bad to make it so that like people can take like less bad trades to lose lane?
Okay, again, interrupt me whenever if I'm cutting out here.
Okay.
I think having some options, whether that's in runes or stuff like Doran's Shield, so that you can survive in a tough lane, you can recover a bit from some tough situations. That's good. I think the problem is where that becomes the dominant strategy, where there's no no way to play around it, and so you just have to embrace that yourself, where it really becomes a problem. The difference, say, between what you do when you're up against something like a Caitlyn Karma lane that's just going to harass the hell out of you. Choosing all the defensive options there might lead to good play, make a lot of sense. If you're doing the same thing, though, when it's a much softer lane, that's probably when we end up in a too forgiving state.
Okay. Just what are your thoughts on Klepto? Because we had talked about it before. I loved Klepto. I'm all about Klepto, but I'd say I don't know how I feel about it, because the only people that really use it are the people that abuse it. What are your thoughts on Klepto right now at the moment?
Sure. Yeah, so when we were making that rune, we were kind of wondering, like, this is giving just gold, which is a very generic sort of power, so it's going to be hard to figure out, like, who it should be good on. And we did a lot of thinking about, like, okay, this rune should probably be good into matchups where you could probably win anyway, and without the help of your rune, and you take this rune to have that little bit of extra gold so that you scale harder into the mid game, sort of like Cull. I don't think we sufficiently accounted for how much synergy there would be for those characters who have this ranged basic attack, reliable ranged basic attack, and a spell that sets them up for it. So it ended up becoming a rune that was more about, can you cheat this from ranged, which is not as interesting of a question, I think. So we're doing our best to make sure we balance that across different champions. So you saw the recent balance changes of, you get sort of diminishing returns on how often you proc it. You'll always be getting something, but if you're a very, very active user of it, you won't get as much of an advantage as you used to. So that's the sort of direction we're looking to push it more into that space of, is this the right lane for it? Is this the right matchup? And less about, am I the right champion?
I think we've seen it become less powerful on, so it's not as out of line on, say, Israel or Gangplank, but it's probably still too good on them relative to everybody else. So maybe we need to go a bit further on that. So, it is a smart choice on some other bot laners, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Is it necessary for Klepto to give gold?
Well, you think potentially putting even more power into the item drops?
Or just like not having it give gold. I think that's the biggest thing, is like, because I think the most annoying part about that thing is just the gold drop, right? They even gave pots like.
I mean, to be fair though, I'll say when I play a lot of GP and I pretty much play everything that abuses Klepto. when I get something that's not gold, I don't use it. I go to shop and I sell it immediately. So I don't know if giving items would be much better, because I don't even use the items. I just sell them immediately. I mean, you guys think though that it needs just a little bit of work? Because I thought it'd be a cool thing for like Sona or supports to be like trying to get some gold off of it, but when I see it now, it's basically, I mean, I only see GP and Ezreal take the thing. I don't think I see any other champions bothering with it, so.
We've still got some top laners who'll use it in melee on melee matchups where they just wail on each other.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true.
I do think we can get it to a state where it's good for a wider range of champions without being busted on a few. In terms of its power, I think it either needs the gold or would need something to replace a lot of power if we took the gold off, because it's not that much stronger than a lot of the other keystones at this point, even on its best users.
Okay. Scott?
Yeah, and we're definitely open to more, perhaps larger changes. Does it have to be the Sheen model? Can it just be on a cooldown so that it is a little bit less sharp based on which champion you are? But for now, I think we still have some room to push the current mechanics towards more variety there.
I also think there's other keystones that need to work more, at least in the short term.
I guess we barely touched on Aftershock, but what's your take on Aftershock at the moment? Because that's one where I'm just seeing everyone using this thing, and it's like I hate it. I don't know how Scar feels about it, but
I just think it gives too much early. It's like, okay, well, we're giving you 100. I think it's 100. It's like 80 to 100 armor and Mara at one. Like, holy shit. That's a lot of stats. Like, you're giving someone the equivalent of like I don't know what the gold efficiency of that rune is at level 1 or like level 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, but it's like you're doubling your champion's effective defensive stats for a couple seconds.
We wanted to, so we made those changes to Aftershock a little while ago, and we wanted to make it weaker.
Oh.
In particular, so that it didn't lead to as much of tanky dudes with aftershock just soloing people, relying too much on that base damage. And we also wanted to make it so it was available to a wider set of users than just tanks, hence moving from a percent armor MR to a flat amount. And I think what we ended up doing was shifting its power too much rather than nerfing it and changing it a bit at the same time, which I think is leading to some of those how the hell do I trade against this person with it windows as a problem at the moment. So I could see us, say, trimming out a bunch of that early defense on it and then having it kick back in over later levels potentially.
Ooh. So I guess we're talking about like all the like nerfing some of these keystones, but how would you go? Are you guys looking to like buff any keystones? Are there any keystones right now that you think are underperforming that maybe could use like a little bit of help, something like that?
Oh, certainly. Phase Rush is the first one that comes to mind for me. This is actually something Stash has been looking into a bit recently, though, so I'll bounce over to him.
Sure, yeah. Phase Rush definitely comes up a lot, but there are a lot of keystones that don't get a lot of play. For whatever reason, Glacial Augment has a pretty narrow audience, and it seems to be good on Aurelion Soul, maybe, but few other champions. That's one. Predator, Skarner's recently brought it into the spotlight, which has been pretty cool. But other than that, still a pretty niche rune that could use some more work, I think, to make it more appealing to more champions. So these are all things that are definitely on our radar. And we saw smaller stuff like
Lethal Tempo as well.
Lethal Tempo is a really big one, yeah. So we've been like mostly doing smaller stuff like, oh, what if Grasp were a little bit better on range and smaller tuning things there. But all the while, yeah, we have, let's say longer term plans we would definitely want to do. We're looking at Lethal Tempo, we're looking at Predator and Phase Rush. But I want to say there's a little bit bigger fish to fry right now, and we have work going on for Spellbook and the newer
Conqueror.
And Conqueror as well. The new, Precision Keystone. Sorry, thanks, Andre.
No.
Sky, have you seen the Conqueror Keystone?
Yes, I've read about it.
What's your opinion? I played on the PBE this morning to try out the new champion, and that thing seemed pretty interesting. I can't tell anything from PBE because it's just like it's like they're not balanced games at all. But like it seemed interesting. What do you think from reading it, Scar, about it?
It's the one that gives you additional true damage on, right?
Yeah, it converts some of your existing damage into true damage.
I just always thought that stuff was relatively scary. I'm rereading it right now to make sure I do understand it. After 4 seconds of combat, your first attack against an enemy champion grants you 10 to 60 AD based on level for 4 seconds, whereas 20% of your damage to champions is true damage for the duration. Damaging enemy champions refreshes this buff. I think it's a little bit easier to balance overall than Fervor. I think the idea is that people are just looking for a Fervor replacement, right? Although people don't remember how much Fervor gave before. So I think that if you get, like, giving it, I assume this looks like an easier to balance Fervor. Rune back into the game is a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have no problems with it from what I saw. Like, I was reading, like, someone was saying, like, Darius could maybe abuse it with his, like, lingering passive or whatever on someone, but I don't really have much of an opinion. I'm just happy that there's new mastery. Are there any other masteries in the works right now that you could maybe tell us?
We are working on a couple.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just trying to figure out if they're far enough along to talk about it all. We've got another one that could be in Precision, or maybe Domination. If it was in Precision, it might be a replacement for Lethal Tempo.
Oh, okay.
And rather than Lethal Tempos, after a delay, you get a bunch of attack speed. This would be more right at the start of combat, you get a bunch of attack speed for a really limited number of attacks, and then you don't get it again until you leave combat. So more a hit and run, or a really front-loaded auto-attack pattern.
Wow, I like that. That sounds real nice for me, actually. Yeah, because, I mean, my problem with Lethal Tempo is I just don't get to see the effects in lane, so it's kind of not worth it to take in lane, but that sounds interesting.
Yeah, this one's definitely having an impact in lane. Actually, you'll like this. It was also created by one of our designers who used to play an awful lot of Draven and wanted to hypothetically create a rune that would be great for Draven. See how that works.
Yeah, I mean, I can see just running someone down with just a bunch of attack speed being pretty nice.
Yep. We'll see where it goes. That one's pretty prototypey at the moment. That's why it's not on PvE yet or anything. But trying stuff like that.
Okay. Well, let's go to the next topic then, because I think the next topic is... Oh, did you watch...
Yeah, I think we... No. Let's jump in that. I think it covers some of the next topic but it's okay.
We'll talk a little bit about what's the future look like for runes and keystones and what new runes are on the horizon. Is there anything else you want to talk about for new runes on the horizon,
or like the future of keystone of runes in general? Like where you guys want to go with it?
Yeah, I mean we're gonna keep expanding it. Well, step 1, get the system more balanced, and fill in some of the big gaps. Step 2. Expand it out a bit. We'll probably end up with many, or maybe even most of the slots having 4 choices in them instead of 3, for example. We might someday add another style, but we're sort of holding off on that until we've got for a long time probably, until we've got the current system in a much better place.
Another style like precision and the...
Yep.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah, adding a 6th tree.
Oh, that'd be real nice, actually. Damn. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy with like the runes and masteries rework. Like, I like the way that it's ended up here. I think that some of them are better than the others, but that's to be expected with how new the system is. And I mean, Sky, are you happy with the overall? Like, are you happy with this compared to old runes and masteries?
Yeah, I love the difference. The only thing I'm a little bit like kind of interested about is kind of spellbook, because like spellbook is so weird to me, right? Spellbook is the thing that should be you want to just switch out your summoners all the time. Like it's the wonky crazy thing, and then like when you're given in game, you're just given like, well, this actually is heal. It's a get back to lane free teleport, which you switch to like ghost late game because it's better.
Right, and you get a few more flashes along the way.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, it feels less about like you're playing roulette with it and more like, well, this is just like, it's all about the numbers. It's a numbers game.
Actually, Stash, do you want to share the, still again very experimental, but the other direction we've been working on for Spellbook?
Sure, yeah, this one, we've had this one in the works for a while. Because Spellbook has been a problem for us as well. We've observed all the same things. Of this thing is very much about the numbers and not about the cool thing that it's promised to be. So, yeah, we've been kicking that around. The version we have right now allows you to temporarily swap one of your current summoners for another one, and you could do that while in lane or at any point. You don't have to go back to the fountain.
It's got to be out of combat.
You have to be out of combat. Good point. That's critical. And then after you use it, it returns you back to your other summoner, and you have to wait until you get the cooldown back. But there's no inherently reduced cooldown reduction on your summoners persistently. You just have the ability to slot in a third one temporarily when you need it. And secondarily to that, we're looking at ways to make sure there's incentives around not just swapping in the same third one over and over and over again. So basically you're just running, heal, flash, ghost. Instead, we do want to really encourage players to use different summoners and try to go for that crazy teleport flank or whatever when you support Alistar in the mid game, because the situation arises. So those are sorts of things we've been thinking about.
One of the things we've been trying to make it so that you end up using a wider variety of summoner spells there is 2 directions. Either one, making it so that you can't repeat use of summoners. So
I like that
you can swap
idea.
into your third summoner, and you get to use, let's say you've started Flash Ignite or whatever. You can swap to teleport once a game, and Ghost once a game, and heal once a game. That sort of thing. So it's very much, I've got these, 10 or whatever other tools, when do I want to use them?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or another model is like that, but with, sort of an increasing cost each time you swap to the same summoner. So you could use teleport repeatedly, but it gets more and more expensive to do so, in terms of how many shards or cooldown or whatever it uses. Whereas, Cleanse is just sitting over there, much cheaper and more appealing.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, we're going to get at least clarity back in there for the people who miss it. Probably the occasional niche situation where it's actually a good choice in lane.
Okay, my question was Spellbook. My only concern with this thing, are you guys gonna nerf the fact that you could start like non-teleport, switch to teleport, and teleport to lane? So it's like a freebie, it's like a gimme, you know? Like,
Yeah, it's going to depend on what that version of Spellbook looks like. If it's you can only use the other summoners once. You know, if you're willing to give up your one use of free teleport for the whole game to teleport to lane, sure, go nuts. That's cool.
oh, okay.
If it's not as limited as that, yeah, maybe we do need to limit it a bit more.
Yeah, so we're thinking of just making sure that action has more cost associated with it, rather than saying, oh, you just can't teleport back to the lane with this rune.
Okay, that makes sense, because, old Spellbook, Spellbook even now, like, when I run it, it's just, I died, okay, I'm just gonna TP back to lane. If I get ganked, it's like, okay, I'm just not gonna use a summoner and just TP back, I'm fucking dead. So, I like the way that sounds. Is it gonna be, so you said it's like having a third summoner or something, so let's say I swap to Ghost with this new Spellbook. When it swaps back, will I have my cooldown of Flash still up, or will it be the shared cooldown of the Ghost?
Sure. The one we're having testing right now has it so that your other summoner maintains its cooldown in the background. So if it were on cooldown, it'd be ticking down while you have your temporary summoner in. But you raise a great point. Maybe that's a little bit abusive, and that turns out to be something that is a little bit too powerful or whatever. So we'll definitely be watching that. But currently, it works as you described.
Oh, if it works like that, I'm so down for that. Especially if I can, if I can only use it once, I can see that shit being so nice for supports and stuff like that. Like, I think it'd be pretty cool to have that. What do you think, Scar?
I think a lot of the one-use stuff has been shown to be very, very fun to use and like very cool, like ups the skill cap. I think because a good example is Stopwatch. People complain about Stopwatch, but that's just because you get it too early. Not anymore, right? But you got it too early, it was too effective. But it was cool, right? You get dove by 4 people, you stopwatch. You're in a 2v2 fight, you make a 6 stopwatch play. 1v1, you stopwatch this guy's thing. It's like, it's nice, you know? I think single-use things are very interesting in terms of development, and like, I like the introduction of what I've seen so far.
Yeah, I've been pretty happy overall.
Works the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, let's go to the next topic then. So teamwork has seemed to overshadow individual skill across the last few seasons. Is this a balancing problem? So I guess I'll start off by saying, like, I feel like, because I've played the game for a while, and I guess, Sky, you can talk about it afterward. I've played the game for a while. I remember back in the day, you used to be able to just like spank someone and there's nothing they could do. I used to be all about that. Just having someone just have the most miserable experience of their life. And I loved it, dude. I lived for it. But I think back about that, and it's like, I don't think about what the other person felt, because they have this miserable experience too, where it's just like, I can't do anything. I oughta lost this game. Someone just get me out of this shit already. And I think, like, you know what? I'm pretty happy that the game's gone to a more team-oriented style of play. But I don't know if I don't really hate how the game is right now, at least in solo queue. I don't know about competitive. Like, I know competitive, like, sometimes I'll watch it and it's 30 minutes and there's 0 kills in the game, and it's like, well, okay, that's a great one. But Scar, what do you think about this topic? How do you feel about it?
There was one comment I read about this kind of thing, saying how a lot of players think back in with rose-tinted goggles, how the relative skill of the player base was so bad back then that like people have just gotten too good. It's like people won't give you like the same openings they do before and all that kind of stuff. And I agreed with that, but I still think, you know, it'd be nice to get more of the pop-off games, you know? Yeah, even across all the streams I look at, all the players I look at, they get like some pop-off games, right? They get maybe like a decent amount.
Hey, you see my 3 Draven games? I got a pentakill in one. I went like 18-2 in the other. Come on, you want pop-off games, dude? I'm gonna be ranked 1.
Everything's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, like, but maybe it's just that I think the feeling has been decreased over the years, and I don't know if I enjoy that, but maybe it's just that maybe that wave clear's gotten too prominent. I don't know. It feels like there's less in terms of individual that you can do, at least along the mid lane, and that might just have to have done with the fact that, like, you know, XP range got increased and wave clear is more prominent now, and that might just be it.
Yeah, some thoughts from our side, and I see we're going to be talking about bot lane stuff a little bit further down and then some bot lane influence. I'll skip that for a second, but I think we may have shifted a little bit too much from solo snowball, or, you know, getting a solo advantage and being able to leverage that, to team snowball, team advantage. So that rather than one person on the team being really threatening, getting a big advantage popping off, you know, it's either your whole team gets ahead or your whole team gets behind. Things like team gold on kills or global objectives or whatever. And we reduced some of that team snowball, that solo snowball in the past, because, you know, the sort of stuff you described, QD, of one person just being so out of line and made for a miserable experience. But I think we might have gone a bit too far in that regard, you know. And there's some good things too about snowball being more focused on one person. It's somebody you can try and shut down, or you can itemize against, that sort of thing.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about aggression being too risky and easy to punish. Like, defensive strategies tend to be more optimal, and that, I think, really plays into this. So if you're looking for, because typically if you're an aggressive champion, you are a more selfish champion, someone who's looking to try to, like, get an advantage through lane, your Pantheons, your Riven. But nowadays it seems like that's a much more punishable strategy. So from my observation, it seems like things trend more towards, like, oh, well, why would I do that when I could just pick a tank? Even though if we look at numbers, like, every champion class seems to be relatively equally effective. It's just, for whatever reason, aggressive strategies are hard to pull off and don't feel satisfying when you do. So you trend towards these more teamwork-oriented champions. And I think that does go into, like, I can't play aggressive, I can't get a lead, and so I can't pop off, so why am I playing this champion? Maybe that's a bit of an overstatement, but I agree. We've erred a little bit too far towards that side of things.
Scar, is there going to be a topic about bot lane later on or something? Do you know? Because I was just going to ask something related to bot lane about this.
Let me double check, but
you got the support power topic.
Oh yeah. I have a support power topic.
Okay, well, not related to support. I guess this is just going to be relating to AD for this topic.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
From my perspective, I mean, I play AD, so, like, I love when the game's individually focused. But I know, like, even right now in solo queue, some games feeling like, I know if I get a kill early on, like, Tristana, I fucking won the game. Like, I'm just gonna snowball and 1v9 the game. And how would you go about, like, stopping that? Because that's the thing, is I want more individual focused games, but I know that sometimes you're just going to have games that are just, okay, we fucking lost at the start. Like, there's nothing we can do at the start. It's just over. I mean, Scar, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like, sometimes bot lane will get an early kill, and it's just like, this game's over.
Yes. Trust me. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the things like that Tristana example, this is something we've been talking about a lot, and entirely on agreement internally, but some suspicion that ADC power curves may not be in the right place, you know, that they're getting their multiplicative power, their ability to really start carrying a bit too early in the game. And so that both makes it harder to sort of come back against them. If they start rolling at all,
yeah,
it can mean that the amount of damage they're putting out against a bunch of other people can get a bit high too quickly some of the time. Again, though, that one we're still debating a lot.
Yeah, and that's just a really tough balance to strike, because you do want people to be rewarded for their advantages, play aggressive, try to achieve them, but we don't want the game to be determined at minute 5. And so it's just a really hard thing to make sure you should play advantages, or you should play aggressively to get an advantage, but your opposing team still has options that they can whip out to sort of come back. And at the end of the day, that's just sort of a problem inherent to the MOBA, but that's kind of what makes it exciting. Like, how's this game going to be different than the last one? Who's going to pop off this game? What's the story going to be like? When it's always the same, like, we all grind out towards late game, I think the MOBA genre and League of Legends loses a bit of what makes it special.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, Kitty, for getting 80s nerf.
No. I mean,
really appreciate it. No, please.
Yeah, no, I love ADs, but I definitely think, like, Dude, when I play Kog'Maw and I have Ginsu's Rage Blade, it's like the game's fucking up. Like, I have one item, I fucking won the game. Like, I don't care what anyone gets. They could have like 6 items, I'll just have Ginsu's. Okay, I'm gonna 1v9
Dude,
them.
trust me, if I'm playing against Tristana and she gets a double kill bot lane and has a Braum, I just want to forfeit. Depending on the mid laner I'm playing, I'm just like, this game's over.
Yeah, it could be pretty miserable. So, I mean, if you guys nerf them, I don't really give a shit, because I'm gonna pop off either way, but sorry to the people that needed that advantage. Let's go to the next topic, though. Oh,
Before we do that, one thing I wanted to ask you about for ADs, and this relates to our plans for mid-season coming up. We're looking to get some champions, in addition to ADCs, down in that farming position in bot lane. Some mages, maybe someday some fighters, or at least that's our goal. I want to hear what you guys thought of that in terms of good idea, bad idea, things to watch for.
Cutie.
Yeah, I mean, Scar will tell you, when I was on Dig, I always played fucking mages bottom in scrims. Like, and
Yes.
we never
so
played
many.
it in LCS, but
many.
I could like win the biggest problem, too much fucking sustain. Like, if I'm Xerath, I'm not gonna sustain a fucking guy with whatever. Like, if he has Lulu, let's say, and I'm Xerath, that Lulu does half my life as a support, and it's just like, well, you beat me, dude. Like, at least if I'm an AD, it's like, I can sustain you out, and I can try to survive this lane, and versus a tank, I'm never gonna have the mana necessary to kill, like, if I'm Xerath again, I'm never gonna have the mana necessary to kill you. If I'm Annie, I won't have the mana to kill you. I pretty much have to go for the AD, but I can't do that versus tanks, because they're made to protect their AD. I don't know how you could go about getting mages. And I love Mordekaiser. I think that I don't know how you guys feel about. Do you guys feel like Mordekaiser's like?
I think we're too heavy-handed. Tried a bit too hard to force it there. So, going to try and make it more a sort of a natural thing you can opt into rather than a here's how this thing should be played approach.
We learned some lessons from it for sure, though. So one of the ways that Mordekaiser bot was powerful was just being an immovable object who could sort of sustain his way through the lane, and he depended on having very specific supports in order to even go aggressive. And so that's something we're definitely looking out for, and making sure that if we're going to bring mages into bot lane, let's make sure the way we do that is not by reducing interaction and saying the only way mages succeed is by constantly clearing the wave and not interacting with their lane opponent. That's something we definitely want to avoid.
Yeah, like
Actually. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I complain about sustain, but I have no problem if a melee carry has sustain. Like, some of the melee carries I played against TF Blade. He's like an Akali Aurelia one trick. He played Aurelia bottom. He was just able to like tank most of my damage. I didn't think that it was unfair, and I mean, he was able to scale. Like, going up against some shit like that, I'm like, okay, dude, you're playing a melee carry. You're probably going to be at a disadvantage because you're melee. I don't really mind that you can sustain me out, because I'm just going to go late game and just beat your ass because you're melee. Like, if there's some way to strike about, like, because I'd love to see melee carry. I always try to play like Yasuo or Mordekaiser or just some stupid shit bottom, and I mean, usually it doesn't work, but sometimes I can win on them. If there was a way to get sustain on bot lane melee carries without being too bad in top lane or something like that, I'd play him all fucking day. But right now it's just too easy to get poked out as a melee carry, and it's too hard to get poked out as a ranged carry, so yeah. I don't see how that could... I don't know how it could be fixed, but yeah.
That's something we can work on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. Usually when I play mages bot lane, it's like they're gated by mana, but then like, Lost Chapter's OP, or was OP. I don't know if it is now. I haven't played on the new one. Probably still pretty good.
Pretty sure it's still there.
Yeah, and one of the big things is like you can make less mistakes as a mage bot lane because you have less sustain options health-wise, because you don't get like flee and you don't and you don't get deplayed recovery. So because of that, like you get, even though you get one extra pot, you typically can make less mistakes in general trading or any of that. And so it's typically harder to play mages bot lane, but I don't think the difficulty should turn people away. If it's a viable thing, that'd be great. Like, I would love to open up options bot lane to where you can play mages. That way, that would free up mid lane, for instance, to be able to play like ADs, like Lucian again, or to play like, because if you're throwing mages bot lane, like you can throw like some of the bot laners somewhere else, right? Or you could throw like maybe a second bruiser mid lane even, and you can run like Aurelia plus like Jax or something. I think any kind of versatility I approve of, because it's late. I don't want to say the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that. If there is some way to like open up, I don't know how to open up the map to have like different people going into different lanes, that'd be cool. But I don't know the problems that other lanes face with like the champions that are currently meta in there. I just know for bot lane, ranged champions have way too much damage sustain. It's like even if I get a good trade, like if I played Yasuo versus like Tristana or some shit, I can get a good trade in. It doesn't matter because she's just gonna heal back up before I get another one in. So, and I probably am gonna get murdered by the creep. So, yeah. But
gotcha.
All right, we'll go to the next topic now. Support power was a big topic of the last BTR. Support or any other role too strong or weak at the moment? So.
We're just screwing with the lights.
Yeah.
I think we got.
I'll start off by saying I think support's too strong. So I talked about before how I feel like one of the problems with I feel like the game kind of is that bot lane's too damn snowball. Like if I go ape shit as an AD, it's like the game's over. Like I have a support, he like multiply. Like I feel like a support shouldn't multiply my power. Like if I'm like a 10 normally, the support's like times 2. He's like times 10 when he gets Ardent Sense, or he's like times 10 if he's Tom Kent. I feel like a support should like add to my power. He shouldn't make me so like if I get 2 kills, I'm at like a 100. There's no way anyone fucking stops me. I'm just killing everything in my path now. Like, the support's just throwing shit at me, and it's just like, we can't kill the support because the AD 1v9s us, and we can't kill the AD because the support peels everything off of him. So, I feel like supports should lose power in some way. Scar, what do you think of it?
We said the same exact thing, and I completely agree with you. I think support power is crazy, and part of the reason why I think ADs feel really strong right now, because supports are just super human. You know, especially tank supports. I think tank supports are a problem because they get tanky so quick they feel like full tanks. Like, the guy gets the lowest gold generation roll in the game but feels stronger than Sejuani. Huh.
From our side, I know Stash had some thoughts on the ways supports express power. Just before I throw over to him for that, though, a general feeling is that jungle influence is probably a bit too high, and that bot lane as a whole influence is probably also a bit too high. And so figuring out the correct ways to say, to pull that down a bit, I think would be good for the game overall. With junglers, that probably looks like, you know, their first clear / their first ganks, a bit too fast, a bit too safe. On the bot lane thing.
Yeah, when you say something like, as soon as I get 1 or 2 kills, that's it, the game is over, I think a lot of people feel that way, and I think one of the main reasons there is that they're so low variance and means of failing once a marksman and a support get going, because of how reliable the marksman's damage is and because of how reliable the support's defenses are. And we've been looking at a lot of the items and runes and all the things we've introduced over the past few patches and seasons. And really, we've just added a lot more reliable defensive tools, from Knight's Vow to Locket, Guardian, the Rune, and all of these things just 100% reliably shield your teammate. Whereas then we look at the offensive options that we've added since then, and we've been adding a lot more gates and challenges and sort of demands to access the offensive power, whereas defenses are just you press the button, you get the defense. So on the live gameplay side and the balance side, the things we've been thinking about are how can we open up ways for your opponents to outplay the defensive tools that you have. Because right now, when you get a lead, you just so reliably convert that into a win because of how low of a chance of failure all of your offensive and defensive outputs are.
And the flip side of that, making some of the defensive tools more dependent on you using them well, for example.
Right, exactly.
It's got some problems, but I think Mikhail's has always been somewhat better there than some of the other items, for example.
Right, in Redemption, you have to call the area, and it comes down after a delay. And maybe the area is a little bit too big, but at least you have to predict the future. And
There's good and bad Redemption uses. Definitely.
Yeah, I definitely, I love Mikhail's. I'll start out by saying that because it's basically, it's like QSS. Like when people are like, oh my god, you QSS instantly. I just had a game with a Janna. He went Mikhail's, but he was just Mikhailing me instantly after every CC. And I even said, I was like, holy shit, dude, you're actually good as hell. Like, I never say that to my support. So that's like, when I say that, it's like, damn, dude, that's like impressive. Like, cause yeah, he's playing Janna. Literally, just buy an Ardent Sensor and put a shield on me and just don't talk to me. That's all I need from the guy.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and I that's the way that I prefer my supports to be played. That I don't think that's the way that a support should be played. But I agree with you. Yeah, like for example, someone like Tom Kench or Braum, they're just way too fucking. What do you do against Braum? You can flash on the AD. He's gonna eat the AD. You can just wait there and pray that he fucks up. But if you jump him, he has basically 5,000 health with his thick skin, so he's impossible to kill. And by the time you kill him, the AD probably killed you. So, and Braum is just disgusting. Also, being able to block he's a movable wind wall. Like people complain about wind wall. Braum fucking is a movable wind wall. So, yeah. I mean, have you guys thought about? I know that I remember when supports were first. No one played the fucking role. You guys, a long time ago, they talked about having, making them more fun, I guess. Making them more stuff to do, that kind of stuff. Would you guys be willing to take away some of the gold earned, or do you think that it's both the AD and the support that need to have not so much impact?
So I think it's potentially both positions. Not sure on that though. That's just personal interpretation at the moment. I think with supports, the way I'd phrase it is less take away some of their stuff to do or take away some of their gold, and more supports have always been useful and impactful. They used to be really gold independent in terms of a lot of the power they had. Now that we've given them gold and more access to items and a bunch of other tools, do they need to be as reliable as a baseline? Do they need to have as much starting effect and power? Or are those things holdovers from a different world?
Are you talking about like lowering their base damage, stuff like that, lowering the base stats?
I think he's talking about like increasing the amount of skill it takes to play support,
Yeah, actually, it's a combination of both actually. Both getting some more skill tests in there, but also when we had characters who were effective with no items for the entire game, they spent all their money on wards. We brought their base damage or their base heals or shields or whatever down somewhat. Some of those may still be out of line though.
Okay, that makes sense, because, some of the champions are just fucking, I can't do anything versus, like, I'll play against them and it's just like, whatever, dude, we're just farming it out. I can't fucking do anything versus you. I mean, Scar, what's your take on it? Do you feel like it is both the AD and the support that are out of line? Because, I feel like I'm biased. I feel like if the support wasn't so strong, I wouldn't be able to just do everything. Because I'm pretty much as I hate it, it's like I said, it's a multiplying effect. So I'm shackled to this guy. Like, I need him to follow me around, or else I lose a significant. Like, I want him to be I want him to be there, and it's like, if you're here, cool, dude. We're a little stronger now. Dude, you need to fucking stay near me. Just stop wandering off. I need you to eat me and just fucking do some other stuff. What do you think of that, Scar?
I think it's a little bit AD, because I think that they do get too powerful too quickly. Because I remember when you used to play Jinx, and I told you to hit towers, and we would team fight at 2 items and a Last Whisper, so 2.5 items. That was our power spike. Nowadays, it's like, congrats, you're playing Varus, you bought Rageblade. Let's go fight. Like, let's just run it down mid lane, right? Isn't that so? I think that's crazy. Like, in terms of like the relative like difference, where it's like, oh, okay, well, let's go ahead and buy like 1 item, and then all of a sudden Trist feels strong. Like every item spike she has, her BF sword feels strong, her level 6 feels strong, her Zeo item feels strong. She's fine with a deep. I don't even know, man. And then for the support end, I actually didn't think about it before, but I super agree that I think support, and this has always been the running joke, right? Support's too easy to play. And it's like, oh, you just play Janna and shield people, you just play Soraka and heal people. But yeah, I guess it actually is just too easy. Like, there is no fail-safe for being an idiot. You know, you can't misplay. Like, it should say something where you're more shocked when a support does something bad than when he does something good. Like, if a Braum misplays, you're like, how could you possibly mess that up, right? Or like a Janna misplays, how could you possibly not do that?
Wait, I'll say for a bot lane, I'm more surprised when a support does something good. Like when Janna McHale's me, like if he McHale's me at like a somewhat decent time, it's like, wow, dude, you can play League of Legends, good job. Like usually it's like he gets McHale's and he'll just. I don't know how to use this shit, dude. All I do is push shields on you. What the hell? You want something else from me? It's like, whatever, dude.
Yeah. I just think the baseline is Yeah, I mean, I think the baseline is too small, too short. Like, in fact, if there's a transformation support coming in the works next, that'd be sick. I'd be like, all right, dude, Nidalee's the next support. Let's see it. I think that'd be cool. But actually, before we switch topics, because this is asking any role, and because I feel like I have to bring this question up.
Oh boy.
What do you guys think about the relative power of top lane?
That's something I've definitely put a lot of thought into. I've been watching all the videos, you know, keeping current with everyone's opinion.
Jesus, all right.
I know, it's been rough. No, it's been good. I'm glad there's actually a lot of conversation. I'm glad everyone cares about this. It makes it pretty easy to understand what people want and what they're not getting, right? And my interpretation of it is, yeah, you know, right now we could look at win rates and say, look, the carry champions are fine, or the bruiser champions are technically fine. But it really seems like they're not delivering on the gameplay experiences that people want from these champions. So I think this actually goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where we were saying you just don't have that pop-off game as often as you used to. You don't get to feel like a carry in the way that you used to. More often than not, if you do something like pick Jack's top lane, you often end up feeling like a tank going Titanic Hydra and Sterix, and your primary purpose is often to initiate and stun a bunch of people, right?
And so on the receiving end, I feel like they're tanks too sometimes.
Exactly, right. And so it's kind of the same conversation again. We've made things a little bit less sharp, a little bit more rounded. You know, he doesn't kill you as fast, but you don't kill him as fast. And I think we've just gotten ourselves into a place where they don't feel they don't deliver on the right sorts of things that players.
So it's not so much a power thing as how that power is expressed.
Mm-hmm. Right.
How you do on average versus how you do when it's going really well.
Right. And on the other hand, as a whole, the lane might be a little bit depowered or not strong enough. This is more of a subjective read, and basically, how often do you care about the top laner when they show up in a team fight? Are you ever focused on him, or is your attention definitely on the marksman or definitely on the mage who's popping off, right? More often than not, you could like let the top lane play second fiddle and let them, maybe they peel, maybe they stun, but you're not super focused on them. So that's definitely something to look out for. And then we're doing a bit of work right now to try to understand which roles do have the most agency, which roles are the most influential in the game. And that'll sort of help inform this, but because I don't have a super strong read on exactly where top lane stands in that regard. But my gut is that they're a little bit less influential than they probably should be.
Yeah, because
if jungle and bot are a bit on the influential side, that's got to come from somewhere.
Exactly, and it seems to have really come from top.
That makes sense, because what you said about playing second fiddle, you can chime in on this guy. When I play AD, like top lane, it could be like a fucking 10-0 Camille, dude. It's like, I just need a couple of items. I don't really give a shit what's happening top. Like, it's like, dude, just die all you fucking want. I don't give a shit. Just don't lose the tower. I'll come up there and I'll go deal with that fuck myself. Like, I don't think, I mean, I know that that's not a good way to look at it, and I don't think that that's a healthy way. But yeah, I never look at top and I'm like, this game's top lane, he's massive right now. We can't win versus it. It's just like, okay, I'm just going to come top and take his tower, and then he's just going to be having to split push the entire game. Pray to God he can make a TP play.
Yeah, I'm a top laner myself, and nowadays it's like, I feel very excited and successful if I delayed the fight for 3 minutes and then died and like didn't get anything done. We're like, look, guys, I gave you 3 seconds of space. I did it.
Yeah, like
That's a bit of an exaggeration, but yeah, I feel
yeah, because top lane it just feels like a role where you're just trying to make space for your team. But I don't play top, so I have no idea. I imagine that doesn't feel so satisfying because I know as AD it's like, just get me fight. I want to kill everything. I'm just going to mow everyone. If the top TP's in, I'm going to kill his ass too. I don't give a shit how fed he is. Like, yeah, I understand the top lane woes. I don't play the roles. I mean, Scott, what do you feel about? Do you ever feel like, oh my god, it's top lane, we got to run?
It's like only if they go like crazy on Camille usually, like actually tend to know. For the most part, if it's top lane, I'm like, oh, he's like 1-0 on Jax or like 1-0 on Camille. 1-0 on Darius. If I ever see Darius, I just think we win. So like it's just, yeah. Like I guess the better question to ask you guys is like, are you guys comfortable with the main carry role being AD at the moment? Like I personally would love to live in a world where top lane you have alternating games where one role is like the hardest carry role. Like, oh, this game the comp is built around top lane. This game, oh, mid lane, has the hardest carrying thing. Let's like build around him. We're like this game. Oh, we picked this Kog'Maw. Let's play protect the Cog. And like now the Kog'Maw is the hardest carrying threat in the game. Like, are you guys aspiring or want to be put in the position where like that's your game state?
Yeah, we'd much rather have a game where your scaling your late game damage could come from a range of different positions. I think this is one of the reasons we've been really happy to see a lot of gameplay get played. He's got some problems, occasionally counterplay around the barrels especially, but he does open up team comps in a bunch of ways, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer. I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I like to think like we should think of the game as what was the story of each individual game we played and how is it different from each other? If every game is, well, the same marksman or one of 3 marksmen were the reason we won, or every game is determined by at what point did the mid laner roam down to bot lane. Yep. That gets old really quick, and I think, again, going back to like what makes League cool, part of the cool thing is that each game does feel very different, and it's very important and integral to me to achieve that for the carry or the most important person to be different from game to game.
Okay. Let's go to the next topic now. Huge AP itemization changes are happening in 8.4. Are these item changes expected for all roles in the future?
Well, before answering that question, Keely, you've actually played on this patch. I woke up late, haven't touched it. What do you think about that new AP items? I saw you played against a couple today.
I don't really have much of an opinion. I mean, I haven't played mid lane, so I have no idea. I couldn't really tell like any of the differences in the items. I mean, there's nothing where I was like, oh my god, he's got this item. Like most people just went the builds that they went before. They went Leandri's. I don't know if it was good. I mean, they were mages and they...
You're telling me ADs are still broken. That's what you're saying.
I mean, I just felt like... I don't know. Maybe I'm just fucking small brain, but I just go in there. I just kill them. It's like, I'd hit tab, like, oh, they got new items. Cool. I didn't even realize what it was. But I'd imagine the more people, like, learn to use these items and synergize with it, the more it'll actually start to matter. But... for now, I couldn't really tell anything from it.
Yeah. I mean, from our side of things, it's too early to say too much about how the AP stuff's landed. We're pretty sure Rise is going to be, well, from what we've seen so far, really strong with that change to Archangels.
Pretty sure.
Yep, pretty sure.
Yep.
But that's about it there. In terms of our plans, we're not sort of planning to do these huge item overhauls to all of the other sets of items in the short term, at least. A lot of this was more catching AP items up a bit to some of the work we've done for other classes. We haven't done much to AP for quite a long time, and especially with Morello's just being the you must rush this starting item. We saw a good way there to, break that open a bit, get some more first item choice, and then make things like Death Cap less of a trap as well at the same time.
Okay. I mean, Scar, because you played mid lane, what did you think of, like, the AP itemization choice?
Whoa, I haven't touched it yet. I just looked at
but what...
The only question... Okay,
I want to know... I wanted to know what you thought of, like, were you happy with the builds that Did you want the build route to choose? Because I know from an AD's perspective.
Hell yeah! What the?
Yeah, I want the build route to change for AD. So I don't know how you felt about mage.
What the heck? You look at mid lane, and then the only option you have mid lane is do I finish the full Morellos or do I buy the Haunting first? That's it. So it's like you go Sork Shoes, like you go the 900 gold infinite mana item, and then you go Sork Shoes and either Haunting or Morellos, and that's your item choice is just like which one do you get. That's like the one that I spend the most time on. I think this game I want the double pen, or this game I want the Morellos, but that's it. My only question on this item change is, I looked at the patch notes again, and I was like, okay, you guys are going this route. It's all different. Everything's good. Because I think the current item route in the game is actually toxic in terms of like having the double pen CDR, like mana, like itemization. Those two items are so good that everyone gets it, right? And it's like way too powerful for its gold cost. Why is it on the new item change that you still have the ability to get that? The same exact thing. You have a new Haunting, guys. You renamed it something else. And then it costs the same amount of gold. It gives you the same stats. So I could still go, technically, double pen into like the mana item and then build something else. Like I don't have to finish off the Haunting, right? Or the new Haunting, the new pen item. So like, why was that kept in the game at almost identical gold value when it was so inherently, or I felt so inherently bad for the current meta of the game for so long?
Yeah, it's possible we undervalued just how dominating that flat pen stacking would still be with these new items, I'd imagine. I'm not sure. I'm not as involved in the details on that one. Our belief was we would be able to offer some other pretty competitive options as starting points, things like the new Archangels or shifting GLP to be a much better starting item off Lost Chapter. If we're wrong on that, cool. Let's hit the new Haunting Guys replacement, take a bunch of its pen or whatever off, or at least shift it to a much more niche choice rather than just as you say, always grab this, combine it with Sork Shoes and something to just solve your mana problems and follow that same path every time.
Yeah, man, I'm just happy that like, I guess big changes like this have been happening because I just like seeing things like we'll just throw some stuff out there. You guys can play around with it. If it looks too bad, we'll just fix it for you guys, and then you can keep playing around it. I like that. I like figuring stuff out. I like trying new stuff. Like I haven't got to play mid lane yet, but I mean, I want to try out some of these new items. I mean, yeah, like Scar said, maybe it's just the same shit where I just build the same items like before, but maybe it's not. Maybe I get to find some new stuff to toy around with.
I think generally Cutie, I don't know if you know or saw their new patch approach this year, but they're doing a change where it's one large patch like this, followed by one small patch, followed by one large patch.
Oh, really? So
it's like we get these types of large patches consistently throughout the year. And I think the mid-season patch might be a little bit smaller because of this. I'm not sure if that's true.
That's
Yeah, though I will say not all big patches will probably be this big.
This patch note was like preseason level almost.
Yeah, it was. And part of that was actually the AP itemization stuff was started a while ago, and it just sort of took a bit longer than expected. And it wasn't originally targeted to drop right in the middle of preseason and midseason, but this is how it ended up. And the big patch, small patch
stuff
cycle
stacked together.
Yeah, it worked out well enough. But this was a very big patch.
Yeah, I'm in love with this kind of approach because, yeah, there's just so much stuff for me to try. Because, I mean, I never realized, because I'd always try to do Krugs as a carry, and I'd be like, dude, I can't kill these things. Why the hell? Like, I feel like when I play
the half damage.
Yeah, I never realized it was half damage on it. I was like, dude, I can never kill these as a carry, but I do it all the time. And now I played a game of Kog'Maw. I pushed my lane in, and it's like, I know the jungler's camping me. What should I do? I just went to go do the Krugs at level 3. I was like, wow, that feels kind of cool. Like, it gives me more options to go do stuff. I don't know, because I remember back in the day, the reason it was changed is because that was a problem. I don't know if it's still a problem now. I have to, like...
I'm gonna say, wait a sec. You like making your
It's
junglers
bad.
farm?
No, I mean, I like just being able, like I said, I like being able to like try something new. Because I mean, most of the time it's like the jungler's camping me. Okay, I'm gonna sit on my tower until he leaves. All right, you got me, dude. I'm just gonna wait for you to go. So I'm in love with these kinds of big patches. We'll see what happens with the AP itemization, but that's good stuff. I like to hear that there's gonna be a lot of big patches. We'll go to the next topic now. There have been meta warping champions and items such as Zoe and Ardent Sensor. What makes these stay around untouched for so long?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No. Oh, well, I was just gonna say the preface for this is like I think a lot of people are just curious because Zoe stayed around for since her inception, and then Sensor stayed around for an entire meta, like multiple months, and so why does this happen from a balance side of things? Yeah.
Let me talk through both of those examples. In both cases, it starts with us misreading how far off from balance something is. Looking at Ardent Sensor, for example, as we're coming into the Worlds patch, we saw that Ardent Sensor was strong, but we're seeing a lot of tank support still getting play at the time. Some enchanters and some sensor users, but not really dominant. So we took a bit of power off it and figured that would put it in the correct state for Worlds. In retrospect, we should have made much bigger changes, even though that would have disrupted a bunch of the practice and the meta that teams had been working on. And that was on our minds because in past years we've sometimes made big changes just before Worlds and rightly been called out by players, viewers, teams for being too disruptive there. But,
can I add?
Oh, absolutely.
To Ardent Sensor in particular, I agree. We probably made the wrong call and should have acted faster. But that was such a dominant part of like a handful of team strategy that it would have been very painful to tell them, look, we know you qualified on this strategy, but now you can't use it. So that was a big part of the conversation.
Was the Sensor thing happening like a full month before Worlds? So like more than a month, 2 months before Worlds. Because Sensor started picking up traction off the Redemption Locket nerfs. And then because off the Redemption Locket nerfs around mid-season, because those items are just broken OP, like stupidly strong. Everyone bought them. You guys also buffed Sensor, and then it got low-key like not much play, and then you buff Sensor again, and then that's when people just went fucking wild with it.
From memory, our last Sensor buff, I think, was actually in 7.2, wasn't it? I could be completely wrong here. Here's somebody checking.
I'll say though, from like a bot lane's perspective, though, I understand what you guys mean about misreading it, because I thought Ardent Sensor was pretty dumb, but I feel like most people want to err on the side of caution. They don't want to take a risk. Like, playing a tank support back then, like, you had to be better than the person you were playing against to beat them as Ardent Sensor support. Yeah. And, like, I've played, like, people were beating Ardent Sensor supports with tanks, but it wasn't regularly because it's hard as hell to do. I could understand misreading it because, I mean, I like having Ardent Sensor supports right now over tank support, even though I think tank supports are a lot better. But that's only because I think that it's easier to just do something that doesn't require a brain. And I know in competitive play, at least when I used to play, you usually want to be on the safe side. You don't want to take a risk. So
reliability.
Yeah.
What do you think of that, Scar? Because I know that, at least in my mind, it's always easier to just play it safe. And, like, I think Ardent Sensor was pretty dumb, but I don't know. I feel like as a bot laner, maybe it wasn't as bad, but I don't know.
I think from a mid lane perspective, like, it's just a accumulation of what right now is being a big problem for what we're talking about, right? Where supports are too easy to play in that their skills are guaranteed. Sensor was the first example of this, the extreme example, right? Well, do I need to be good at the game? No, I can buy this item and this could be good for me. And so I kind of agree.
A little hesitant. No, that's fine.
Yeah,
it wasn't. I think we could all safely say now. it was a little bit too long, that art and sensor stayed dominant, and we should have backed it back.
Definitely was. Yeah, I agree with that. But I'll say I loved playing like tank supports versus that shit because I could just sweep them up like they're nothing. So I definitely agreed though, because like you guys said, support's too damn easy. Like thinking about how the game's evolved and at the point that we're at now, support. I always complain about support, but yeah, support's way too fucking easy to play. I think that...
Yeah, one thing I'd challenge in there, I think it's some supports in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've got some that are much more unreliable and that do require you to make some really good plays to get stuff out of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like...
Just try not to lump everything.
So something like a Blitzcrank, I love Blitzcrank. I think he's fucking great. I love playing with him, but... you need to be so much better than the person that you're playing against to make them work that it's like, well, do I want to play Blitzcrank or do I just want to play? Do I just want to play Tom Kench and eat the guy every time Blitz hooks him?
Yep.
And then it's like, well, Blitzcrank doesn't exist as a champion. Like there goes Blitzcrank. He's useless now. So there's some supports I definitely agree that they're very high skill cap. But the ones that get played mainly are pretty... I don't like them.
Reliability is powerful.
Yeah.
Go for it,
yeah. What were you going to say?
Oh, but sorry, I interrupted you guys on Zoe.
No worries. Zoe was actually kind of similar in that we internally misread / had some differing opinions on just how strong she was. And that meant, she went out in 723 and we spent a while chipping small bits of power off her. Thinking that she was actually probably pretty close. We just needed to get a few things in line. And, as I say that, it's pretty obvious in retrospect. Look at the amount of things we just changed. That was not the case. That, frankly, was us being slow to pull the trigger on bigger change being needed.
Well, speaking of Zoe, I want to ask Scar, what do you think of, because she got nerfed on this patch, right?
Yeah, she got nerfed by a lot.
So a lot of people I know say that she just got absolutely butchered. Like, what do you think of, or do you think that
she got destroyed? I haven't even touched her in a while, but she got destroyed. So like one of the biggest things about her was like you could like there were a lot of different points in the game, wave clear wise, where you could use your Q to like 2-hit backline. Or like 3-hit back. Like you can like 2-hit range minions at like level like 2, 1, or 3. You can 1-hit backline at level 5, and like all that getting nerfed, terrible. Like you nerf wave clear on champions, and champion just feels like way worse. And just in general, she was just like she was already not counter playable, but like if you fell behind on that champion, you do not feel good about yourself. You feel really bad about yourself. Yeah. But now it's like even more in that case now, which I think that it should feel that way. Like she shouldn't be able to punch through tanks. Like that should be her weakness. She should be able to be forced to find angles to go around tanks to do damage. And I think that if you could fit that niche, then that's ideal.
Well, let me ask you: do you feel like this nerf on this patch was necessary for it? Because I'll say I'm probably gonna be. It's probably just me. I didn't hate playing against Zoe. I actually liked playing against Zoe. She kind of reminded me of Xerath if Xerath wasn't that bad. But I like being able to dodge skill shots. I felt like if I buy magic resist, it's not like I know people say just dodge the skill shots, just keep it like. I didn't think as an AD like she could one shot me if I didn't have magic resist, but as soon as I got it, it's like okay, she ults in, I'm just gonna kill it. Like I'm just gonna all in you now.
I think you get a more unique perspective because as the AD, you get the support to help you out. You can go Wit's End, you can go QSS. But the biggest like person who actually was struggling against Zoe was the mid laner, but mainly also your jungler. Because what happens when you're playing against Zoe as a jungler is since you're behind Zoe, she just one hits you, or she chunks you to like 20%. And you have to leave, and so like it was never fun to try to take skirmishes with Zoe early, and like. Yeah, while you're trying to fight the curve up against Zoe, Zoe's just beating your face in. I think that she was one of the least fun champions for me to play against because she set up ganks super well and she made it so that like you just sometimes just have to look. You just look in the distance. You're like, yep, that's her. As she like one hits someone, and that's all. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, maybe I just had like I liked playing against her. I thought she was fun to play against, but yeah, I can understand how a lot of people probably didn't enjoy it. I guess I'm kind of a sick, twisted person. I like being abused. I mean, do you guys have like anything in mind for Zoe now that these nerfs have come through? Like, are you going to be looking to see if she's really struggling as much as people are going to making her out to be?
Yeah, we're pretty sure she'll be in a really rough state in terms of power. She'll be very weak. We've started some work already to look at where we can put power back into her in more appropriate ways. So,
have you guys thought about making it so that she could change the angle of her Q once? But with ulti, she could change the angle of her Q again so that she can shift behind the front line to the back line.
I don't think that particular one's cropped up.
Perfect.
So mechanics changes like that could be on the table.
Credit me with that when you go with it.
If we do that,
we'll call it a Scar.
I just think it'd be really funny if you had like a third redirect, but maybe that's just me because I think the champion itself could be.
I like the champ. I think she's an interesting champion.
Yeah, she does. She is. I like all of certainties.
Yeah, I mean, to be clear, we think there's a lot of stuff that Zoe does that's really cool. That's really good for the game. But there's also been a bunch of stuff she's done that's been pretty problematic. So we wanted to take off a bunch of that stuff like the uncleansable E or the teleport drops or the
gunblade drops were good.
Or how reliably, regardless of how farmed she is, she can get to the Q1 shot, or as you say, her wave clear. But to leave a bunch of the other stuff, particularly around some of those high moments with lining up the perfect Q shot if that's a bit more demanding, or some sort of play around the R or whatever, and then put some power back in. I can see the W being a good space to do some of that as well, given it's kind of non-existent later in the game.
Okay, fair enough then. Let's go to the next topic being, you mentioned in a recent gameplay thought that you're looking into TP in both pro and regular play. What did you mean by this?
So that actually came from, I was, like I mentioned, I was really looking into what's going on with top lane, what's happening there, and one of the first places I looked was teleport, because one of the things I was thinking was it's really hard to feel like a carry in top lane and to really get that advantage when your opponent could mitigate that by teleporting back into lane after they either lost a bad trade or lost an early kill. And this led to a bit of a deeper exploration on teleport and thinking about what it's doing to the game overall. And some of the other problems we noticed were teleport makes it really hard not just for the top laner to be aggressive, but for anyone on the map to be aggressive. While teleport is up and available to cast, you have to double think or like recheck every move you make, because at any point the top laner could just teleport right behind you. So it has a bunch of these negative effects that sort of make aggression not as valuable or as reliable. But on the other hand, it also has a lot of really cool things it does. Like, it's a very different sort of summoner spell compared to the other ones. You have to start thinking about the map in all sorts of different ways. You get to participate in fights across the map, even if you're in an isolated position. And all these things are really awesome. So the question we've been sort of bouncing around is, how do we make changes such that it doesn't have this suppressive chilling effect while still maintaining those the other side of it?
Well, would be removing teleport something that you guys would actually be looking into? Because I think teleport's pretty necessary in the game. I mean, I don't know if it actually is necessary in the game, but I just can't imagine a game with no teleport, because there'd just be no interaction and you just...
Yeah, no, we're not looking to take teleport out.
Okay.
We might change things like maybe it's cooldown early game versus late game, or along the channelers, or whether you can teleport to wards versus only towers or nearby enemy units, allied units or whatever. I think those are the most likely sort of changes. Maybe an ignite buff as well.
Mm-hmm.
Could also go further and have it available through items or become more powerful with specific items or whatever.
Yeah.
But some form of teleport's still going to be in there, certainly.
My initial pitches were pretty like zealous. I was like, let's remove it. We got to get rid of it. But even at those times though, we all found it very important to talk about, okay, well, let's say we remove it as a summoner spell. What's going to replace it? Because these champions that find themselves on an island absolutely need a way to participate with the rest of the game. So when we talk about changes to teleport, that is definitely at the forefront.
Have you guys ever thought about like maybe allowing teleport for other laners also? Because I know for me, I liked having Summoner Spellbook just because when I could teleport and completely negate someone's early game. But for the other reason, I liked having it because
Some of the reasons.
Exactly.
I could be a part of the map. It's like, oh, something's happening over here. I just pushed in my lane. Well, I can actually join in on it. Let me just go and teleport out. Like, I like being able to have some kind of influence on the map where normally I'd have no influence aside from my own lane. Would that be something?
Yeah, on one hand, sort of giving some of that cool stuff teleport offers to other positions seems great. Something that makes me really cautious though is if, even though that's, say, great for the mid laner or bot laner to be able to go and get involved in stuff else where they otherwise normally wouldn't, that also means that where you might normally get a 1v1 or a 2v2 fight, that increasingly just becomes like everybody pile in there. In the same way we've seen the bot lane Fiesta in the past, for example. Where, you lose the ability to have those smaller fights that can be really skill expressive. I'd worry about making map-wide mobility too accessible to everybody and creating that same effect everywhere, potentially.
Yeah, it just creates so much anxiety around, like, can I even take this fight? It seems like I'm at an advantage, but what if someone just teleports behind me? So it's a pretty tough thing to balance and get right.
Yeah, no, I understand completely, because I remember, people still do it where they'll go teleport top and mid, and just seeing those two summoners, farm lane. I'm never doing anything.
Yep.
I'm not going to play aggro, because God forbid if they flank TP me, we're fucked here. So...
Yeah, and for me, a lot of it comes down to, you mentioned, like, you liked having that influence, and I think it's really fun and cool, and we should empower people to have it, but it seems like right now, when they opt into that strategy, they're not giving enough up for it. So, imagining you take teleport, you don't really lose that much presence in lane, because things like Ignite don't seem to carry enough weight for you to really care about not having it. So, you tend to go teleport and just not miss your other spell and now have this huge advantage in the form of global influence.
Teleport's like a laning skill.
Exactly, actually. Yeah.
It's like you take it and you're like, well, I'm going to get one back faster than the other mid laner. And so like I'll be ahead of them by slight golden XP lead, plus I get first roam on the back. It's
and
like
a lot of sustain.
Yeah, it's like, wait a sec, should that be the case? Like, should I just not care about like my health bar and just be able to get that like first back?
Yeah, exactly. Those uses aren't the cool things, so how can we fix that and keep the good
Right,
stuff?
because right now it's both among the best laning summoners, if not clearly the best, and also the way you influence other lanes as you go into the late game.
Yeah, I think if something could happen... Scar, do you have anything that you want to put about teleport?
I don't know. I just think... I don't know a way to be able to do it correctly. I do think it limits some aggression, but it also does create like great, like you said, great avenues of having like skill expression, good strategy expression.
Yeah,
so,
that's it particularly.
I just don't like that it's like, I prefer to like scrap out landing a little bit more. And like, I prefer it for people to like miss stuff in lane. Like the fact that I consider it a loss if I miss 4 minions on the back. Like, that's crazy. Like, so, I don't know. I would like it to, like, if you are better than the enemy player, like, crutching on TP isn't an option.
Yeah, because I don't play mid lane that much, so maybe my opinion's not correct here, but I'll play Fizz versus like some matchup. They run TP. I go for an all-in. I don't know my damage. I go for an Ignite. He lives. He TP's back to lane. I would have lost the lane. It's just like I fucking lost. I didn't get my all-in, and he has teleport. Okay, it's over. So I definitely...
And you took all the risk in order to win.
Exactly.
Yeah, pretty much what you said. That right there is what... I don't want to say pisses me off, but probably tilts me the most too. Is it's like, I did all this shit, your ass was just farming this whole fucking time, and then you just teleport back to lane and I lose. It's just like, come on, man. Like, Yeah, if something happened to teleport, I'd be happy. I have no idea how to make the thing better, but I'm happy to hear that you guys are looking into it.
Yeah, you guys are looking on it. I'm super happy about that.
Yeah, because I definitely I don't like teleport. Actually, I like it if I can use it, but if I can't, I don't like it. But all right, let's go to the final topic. The final topic being the live question and answer on the Discord server. So we'll go and start off. We'll pick Ezreal's mod. We'll start off with this one. Ezreal's the only AD that gets outskilled by every other marksman, so will he get changes to help him with that? Maybe some work for his deputy. I'm going to start off by saying I didn't read this guy's question before, so his question, we're just gonna throw that in the trash can. I'm sorry, dude.
I was saying, what?
Yeah, that question just garbage, dude. Here, I'm going to ask a real question. What do you guys think of Ezreal sustain in lane? Because I know for me personally, I fucking hate playing against Ezreal. Having him just Q spam the whole laning phase, and it's just like, well, do I try to play aggro with him? Oh, he hit a Q on me. Well, I better back up. Oh, he's just gonna Q the creep wave then, and I can't do anything to him. Well, maybe he'll run out of mana. Oh, he's got a tier. He's gonna stay full mana the whole time. Like, do you guys have any problem with how his sustain is right now? Do you feel like he's at an okay spot?
I think there's a couple of things. I think Klepto might, I'm not certain on this one, especially since we pulled the potion bonus off Inspiration, but it's possible that Klepto and Inspiration Primary might still be giving him a bit too much sustain, both health and mana. The other one, and I'm not certain on this either, but I think the tier thing is okay, provided he's giving up a decent amount of combat power in order to go into that as like a later in the game investment. And if he's not giving up enough, then again, that could be an issue. If it's just all strength, none of the weaknesses that a slower build like that should have.
Okay, because I know from when I play bot lane, a lot of the time people that don't play AD, they'll like stick to a champ. So sometimes they'll play Jhin when he's meta, but since he's not meta anymore, most people will just play Ezreal. And whenever they play these champions, all they do, they just Q spam the wave, and it's just because. Like, I know, I just want to smash them into the ground, but it's just like, I can't smash you because you're just sitting, like, do something, like, fight me, or fight for the wave, or, like, anything. Like, I don't know if it's that big of a problem, because, I mean, of course, there should be champions that work like that, but I don't know.
That makes sense.
Yeah, Sky, do you have a problem with tier, though, speaking of that? Because I don't like the item Tear of the Goddess. Personally, also, I really hate that item. But do you have a problem with it at all?
It enables some champions to perform well. I don't think that's a bad thing, but I don't have a problem with the tier. And about the Ezreal Q spam, I think there should be some champions in the game that allow you to do safe farming, just as like an option, just so that maybe picking Ezreal means your support can roam more, which has definitely happened before, right? Ezreal stays in lane, your Astra goes to roam, and he comes back, and it's harder to punish Ezreal. But as long as the trade-off is good enough. But I don't know currently about the trade-off being that great, because Ezreal, a lot of the Ezreals I see are just going tier, and the ones I'm seeing that are going tier fist, and I'm just like, oh, this guy really doesn't want to play. Doesn't want the other guy to play the game.
Yeah, playing against tier fist, what the guy asked, he doesn't scale that well. I feel like that's Ezreal's problem. He scales too fucking well for how easy he is to get out of laning phase. And again, I don't know if that's just my bias as ADC wanting to just destroy everyone in lane, but yeah, I guess I just wanted to hear your guys' opinion on it. We'll go to the next question here though. Ring Muscle wants to know, what's your guys' opinions on shields and balance?
Oh, that's a good one. Shields.
Yeah, so as we talked about earlier, the reliability of support power, support defensive power, is arguably too high, with shields probably being one of the big bits of that. Some of that coming from values on those shields that we tuned before the existence of heal shield power. And some of it also reflecting that we don't really offer anything in terms of a counter shield safety valve item in the game. So I think getting one of those in would also be pretty helpful here. Not as a buy this and nobody can ever use a shield usefully again. Those characters can't be played, but as a hey, if they've got really powerful shields or a lot of shield stacking, this is a good way to deal with that.
So like a grievous win type thing for shields?
Potentially, though, you could do it more. It doesn't have to be, shields on this person will be bad in the future. It can be more deal a whole bunch of damage to the shield that's currently on them or something like that.
Oh, that'd
Right,
be
like double damage with shields or
Or-
something like
yeah.
that.
Oh.
Yeah, I could.
So like you can buy an item to do that, or an ability to do that. That's cool.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, I could see that being
And make it
decent.
active or something.
For like something like Ohm Wrecker, like disable, like I don't know, shielding on a target, but that'd probably be way too damn strong. Maybe reduce the amount of shielding.
Yeah, I mean that maybe the weaker version of that, or yeah, something in that line anyway.
Okay. I mean, what do you guys think of being able to stack shield? Do you feel like stacking shields isn't a problem? Should they have diminishing returns? Should they not be able to stack on top of each other?
I think the usability gets really weird if you can't stack them, especially if they're coming from multiple sources. Which is why something like a shield countering item, so that you can stack them, but if somebody plays well, they'll punish you for it. Is potentially the better way to go.
Okay. All right, that sounds good to me. Because yeah, I hate shields. I can't stand playing against it. I don't know how you feel about Scar, but like for me, when I go up against an AD and I see his whole health bar is just a shield, it's like we fucking lost.
Wait. How can you say that as the AD?
You are an AD.
I'm the guy playing the assassin trying to kill the AD. I hope the AD
I'll tell you.
he gets Aegis shield. Fucking like just 3 different bloodthirster shields.
Yeah, when I
I
play something that's aggro, it's just like, please God, don't pick. Shit, they picked a bunch of shields, we lost. Like that's pretty much my line of thought. It's like, you know what? I'm not gonna play Tristana this game. I'm gonna play Lucian. Oh, he's got 30 shields and I have 500 range. I'm fucking dead. Like if I go anywhere near this guy, he's gonna blow me up before I even break his shield. So I'm pretty happy to hear about that. Let's see. And Albino Tree wants to know, what do you guys think about on working on Tom Kench and I guess specifically his W? Are you guys like looking into that ability at all? Because for me, I fucking hate that ability. That thing pretty much stops like anyone from doing anything until you get it out, and it's like a better kill ulti basically. What do you guys take on it?
I think it's so totally agree. I'll start with that, but I do think it is pretty cool in so far as it's a very sharp and powerful tool that works really well against some strategies. I think right now it's just a little bit too generically powerful, and also it feels like it just removes all interaction for the opponent. I think I don't think there's any work planned right now, but he is certainly a very dominant pick and it's probably worth investigating.
Right. I think he's probably just a bit too strong, but that could also just be tank supports in general being a bit too strong at present.
I think it'd be cool, like give him like a debuff or something. Like he eats the AD to save him or the carry, but then whatever gets spit out gets like debuff. So it's like he has to be picky, either with like a movement speed slow or like like a.
Oh yeah, like he gets wet or something, and he's like some shit happens.
Sticky with saliva.
Yeah, like he's I don't know, he's got some big ass debuff to where it's like, yeah, you just gotta be careful.
Yeah.
The first place I would look might be like, is there some reasonable way we could give opponents to knock the person out of his belly by paying an extra
Or
resource?
to punish Tom Kench for...
Or make him more vulnerable, yeah. Maybe thick skin shouldn't be as reliable of a defensive
Oh yeah,
tool
if you
either.
can...
Shield breaking item.
Shield breaking item might help.
Yeah, I could see if there was like a damage threshold for how long they could stay
Oh,
in
that'd be funny.
Yeah, because like right now it's like he ate the AD. I need to deal... What does he have? 2,000 health? What does he actually have? 4,000 health? Like, I need to deal that much before I can actually get to the AD. If I could force him to spit the AD out so I could just kill his ass, that'd be pretty nice.
Yeah. Yeah, but I do think it's a pretty cool ability worth preserving in some form, and I wouldn't say, like, let's just remove it because, you know, it's...
But can we improve it?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll go with one more question here. We'll go with the final question. Solier wants to know, why did you guys change Baron Buff's effects? What are you hoping for? We'll make it that.
Certainly. It's a good one. So we think Baron, basically controlling the map, particularly the epic monsters like Baron and Dragon, should give you a bunch of advantage as a team. Some of us being the more ways to play than just hammering against the tower. And we've been seeing a lot of cases where teams, particularly in pro play, would take multiple Barons and multiple Elder Dragons even, and just not be able to win the game off that, despite having done all the correct things, leading to these really slow, drawn-out games. So that was the single biggest motivator in there. The other smaller thing we also wanted to do was, the reasons I don't know why, historically Baron buff has always given the same amount of AP and AD, and that's tended to favor AD champions a bit. So we also wanted to even that out as we made Baron scale more over time. Give a bit of a boost to AP champs off it.
Do you feel like there might be a problem with solo queue, for instance? Because I know, Scott, when someone gets Baron buff, I'm like, this game's fucking over half the time. Like,
yes.
If you get Baron buff, you probably won the solo queue. Even if you steal it, you're probably just gonna, like, if my jungler steals Baron, I'm like, we won the game. Like, this game's over now. I don't know how much better it'll be now, because is it live on the patch right now?
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I maybe it isn't that bad because I couldn't even tell, honestly. But
I feel like for solo queue, it's going to be the exact same thing. A lot of these changes seem to have been pushed for competitive play, where it's like, Baron and Elder are like now God mode late game.
Right. We're really targeting the really later side of it. So
30 minutes, 35 plus.
Right, and that tends to not be a problem in solo queue based on the average game length, but it can really become a problem in those drawn-out competitive games.
Yeah. Having said that, if it is causing problems in solo queue, that's something we're going to have to fix, of course.
Absolutely.
Patch hasn't been live long enough yet to get any good sort of read on that. But
okay,
that's really high on our list of what is 8-4 doing to the game. Things to figure out.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Less people can stall out, the better. Because I know for me, I don't like watching games. I don't like seeing 30 minutes, 0-0, nothing's happened in competitive play. So,
yeah, agreed.
Yeah, anything that just pushes the pace, forces people, like, if you want a turtle, go for it. You're probably going to lose. I'm all for that.
Last night, LCK series was 3 hours and 30 minutes. The best of 3.
Best of 3 was 3 hours and 30 minutes? That was just the game length time, or like the broad?
I think it was like the whole broadcast time, but they pretty much went back to back. Like it was a long, grueling.
That's a marathon, yeah, for a best of 3.
I mean, the occasional game that long can be really sweet.
Definitely.
And if the games going that long have lots of stuff going on in them, that's okay. But if they're long all the time and not enough is happening.
Yeah. I definitely. That sounds like, Scott, I don't know why you do that to yourself, but more power to you,
The
man.
jet lag.
It was bad.
Well, whatever. That's gonna conclude Beyond the Rift for today. I want to thank the Rioters for coming out. I want to thank Scar for coming out. Scar, if the people want more of you, where can they get you?
I'm Twitch and Twitter under Scar. You can find me there. Before we switch to the guests, I want to say, because they're probably not going to bring this out, thank both of them, Meddler and Stash, for coming on to the show today. God bless you guys for coming on. One of the things you guys should check out, 100%, is Meddler has his first, or his gameplay thoughts. You guys should check that out. Forget my stuff. Check out that stuff. If you read his comments on the forums, he talks more about the future of the game than anything else. Recently, he's talked about the state of Quinn and when to expect, or when they're looking at changes for like teleport state, like even like a bunch of things like spellbook stuff. And it's like, if you want to know about the state of the game, if you are that like hardcore power user and you want to know everything that's going to happen, it's like the most informative resource for anything about gameplay balance.
Yeah, just
thank you for the call out there, Scar. I appreciate it.
Yeah, just to piggyback off that, like Scar said, yeah, if you're getting your state of the game from Hashinshin, just try to diversify it up a little bit. Try to get Meddler's opinion in there too. Like maybe see the different opposing sides of things, or maybe not even opposing, but just try to get all the states of the game, because I mean, I know for me, I say a lot of things about the state of the game that they're probably completely fucking wrong. I have no fucking idea, dude. All I know how to do is right-click things and watch them die. So definitely check that out if that's what interests you. And to you guys, if the people do want more of you, where can they get you? If anywhere.
I think I have a Twitter. I'm not too active on it. You can look up RiotStashu. It's probably there, but mostly you'll probably want to be reaching out to Meddler. But I will say, if you're posting on the subreddit or the boards, I probably have seen your post or seen someone talking about that similar thing. So we keep an eye out.
Yep. I'm RiotMeddler on Twitter. You can also catch me on boards a lot of the time, especially the Dev Corner. I also wanted to say many thanks for having us. This has been great fun, just like the last time. So
Yeah. I mean, the one thing I love about you guys is when you guys come on, I always get something new. Because sometimes, like, I'll talk to some writers, and like, I don't know if we can disclose that. But you guys come on, you're like, oh yeah, Spellbook, we're thinking about doing X, Y, and Z. And I'm just like, oh shit, that's great. Like, that's the kind of insight that, like, I love to have.
Yeah, I'm just happy to hear about, like, your guys' thoughts on the games. Because, again, I think a lot about the game because I play it a lot. I enjoy the game a lot. It's nice to hear someone that probably knows a lot more about game design and things like that. Because I'll think of some shit and then I'll be like, this is terrible. This is just awful. So it's nice to hear opinions from someone that probably knows a lot more about it.
I think you're underselling it.
Maybe overselling me.
Yeah, but no, I mean, we love talking about this stuff with you guys. So.
Yeah, it's really awesome to come on. Thanks for having us again.
Yeah, well, thank you for being here. Thanks for watching, everyone. That's going to be it for Beyond the Rift. Hope you have a good rest of your day, and goodbye.
See ya.